Jennifer Aniston's family announcement shocks fans. Picture this: a woman who's spent decades under the harshest spotlight imaginable. Every relationship dissected. Every life choice questioned. Every personal decision turned into a headline. And now, at a time when most would say the window has closed, sources are whispering about something that could change everything. But there's a catch. And it's not what you think. Jennifer Aniston's name has become synonymous with resilience, with grace under pressure, with that million-dollar smile that somehow manages to hide 1,000 untold stories. But behind that smile, behind the red carpets and the magazine covers, there's been a quiet ache, a longing that she's spoken about in careful, measured words over the years. The longing to be a mother. Let's go back. Way back. Before the fame, before the Friends phenomenon turned her into a household name, before the world decided they had a right to her most personal dreams. Jennifer Joanna Aniston was born on February 11, 1969, in Sherman Oaks, Los Angeles. Daughter of actors John Aniston and Nancy Tao. You'd think growing up in a Hollywood family would make the path easier. But Jennifer's childhood was anything but simple. Her parents divorced when she was 9. The split was messy, painful, the kind of wound that doesn't quite heal. Even decades later, she's spoken about her mother in interviews, and the picture she paints is complicated. Nancy Tao was critical, demanding, the kind of mother who pointed out flaws instead of celebrating strengths. Jennifer grew up feeling like she wasn't quite enough. Not pretty enough. Not thin enough. Not perfect enough. Imagine being a child and internalizing that message. That constant feeling of falling short, it shapes you. It changes how you see yourself, how you approach relationships, how you think about family. Jennifer moved to New York City to pursue acting. She was determined, hungry for it. She waited tables. She auditioned for everything. She heard no more times than she could count. But she kept going. That resilience, that refusal to give up, it was already there, being forged in those early struggles. Then came 2004. Brad was filming Mr. and Mrs. Smith. His co-star was Angelina Jolie. The rumors started almost immediately. The chemistry on set, the late nights, the looks. By January 2005, Brad and Jennifer announced their separation. The statement was carefully worded, mutual, amicable, but the tabloids smelled blood in the water. Team Aniston versus Team Jolie became a thing. T-shirts were made. Battle lines were drawn. The narrative was set. Jennifer, the wronged woman, the abandoned wife, left for a more exotic, adventurous alternative. And at the center of it all, the baby question took on new dimensions, because just months after the split, Brad and Angelina were photographed together. And not long after that, Angelina announced she was pregnant. They'd go on to have 6 children together. 3 biological, 3 adopted. The family Brad apparently wanted all along. The implication was clear, at least in the media's telling. Jennifer didn't want kids. Brad did. So he found someone who did. Except that wasn't the whole truth. Not even close. Jennifer has spoken about this in bits and pieces over the years, carefully, painfully. In a 2005 interview, she said the idea that she chose her career over family was a lie. In later interviews, she'd reveal more. She talked about trying to get pregnant, about the disappointment when it didn't happen, about the emotional toll of very public failure. Imagine going through something as private and painful as fertility struggles while the entire world watches, while magazines publish stories about your empty life, while strangers feel entitled to comment on your choices. She said it was absolute lies that she didn't want children. That narrative, she later revealed, caused her a lot of grief. The years after the divorce were complicated. Jennifer threw herself into work. She dated. She smiled for the cameras. She did press tours and promoted movies and showed up looking flawless every time, but in quieter moments. In more honest interviews, you could see the cracks. The hurt, the frustration at having her most personal pain turned into entertainment. She dated Vince Vaughn. Then John Mayer. Neither relationship lasted. The tabloids documented every beginning and every end, every beach vacation and every breakup. In 2011, she met Justin Theroux, actor, screenwriter, edgier than her previous relationships, tattooed, cool in that effortless New York way. They dated. They got engaged in 2012, and in 2015, they married in a secret ceremony at their Bel Air home. Once again, the baby question started. Jennifer was now in her mid-40s. The biological clock narrative reached a fever pitch. Magazine covers asked if she was pregnant based on the slightest curve of her stomach. Paparazzi zoomed in on any loose-fitting dress. It was relentless. In 2016, Jennifer had enough. She wrote an op-ed for the Huffington Post that went viral. In it, she called out the objectification, the scrutiny, the obsession with her body and her choices. She wrote, "The objectification and scrutiny we put women through is absurd and disturbing." She talked about the message it sends, that a woman's value is tied to her relationship status or whether she's a mother, that there's something lacking in a woman who hasn't followed the traditional path. It was powerful, raw, honest. But even that essay, that moment of speaking her truth, became another story, another headline, another thing to analyze and debate. In 2017, Jennifer and Justin announced their separation. Another relationship, another ending, another round of speculation. Through it all, Jennifer kept working. She produced shows. She starred in movies. She built a career that spanned decades in an industry that's notoriously brutal to aging women. But the baby question never went away. In a 2018 interview, Jennifer got real in a way she hadn't before. She talked about the years of speculation, the invasive questions, and then she said something that stopped people in their tracks. She talked about trying to get pregnant, about the challenging road of fertility, about spending years going through IVF treatments, drinking Chinese teas, trying everything. "I was throwing everything at it," she said. "I would have given anything if someone had said to me, 'Freeze your eggs'? Do yourself a favor. You just don't think it." The revelation was heartbreaking. All those years, all those headlines asking when she'd have kids, all that speculation about her priorities, and she'd been fighting a private battle the entire time. She also talked about how she finally found peace, about reaching a point where she could let go of the should-haves, about finding gratitude for the life she has instead of mourning the life she thought she'd have. It was a lesson in acceptance, in grace, in choosing happiness despite disappointment. And for many, it felt like the end of that chapter. Jennifer had tried. It hadn't worked out. She'd made peace with it. The story was complete. But life, as it turns out, is rarely that simple. In recent years, Jennifer has been linked to several men. Each relationship dissected with the same intensity as always. But there's been one that seems different, steadier, more. Private sources close to Jennifer have been whispering about a relationship that's serious, committed, the kind of partnership where both people are on the same page about what they want and what they want. According to these sources, includes family, but here's the catch. The thing that makes this story more complicated than a simple Jennifer's having a baby headline. At 56 years old, biological motherhood isn't the path we're talking about. Jennifer has been open about that chapter closing. She's spoken about the grief of it, the acceptance, the moving forward. So what are sources saying? Adoption, surrogacy, alternative paths to parenthood that don't require turning back the biological clock. Insiders say Jennifer and her partner have been exploring options, having serious conversations about what family could look like for them, about providing a home for a child who needs one, about building something together that goes beyond the traditional script. It's the kind of story that challenges our assumptions about family, about motherhood, about what it means to start over at any age. Think about it. Jennifer has spent decades being told she was running out of time, that her window was closing, that she needed to choose between career and family, that she was somehow incomplete without biological children. And now, on her own terms, in her own time, she might be creating the family she's always wanted, just not in the way anyone expected. There's something beautiful about that, something defiant, something that says it's never too late to rewrite your story. Of course, nothing is confirmed. Jennifer's team hasn't made any official announcements. And given how private she's become about her personal life, that's not surprising. She's learned the hard way what happens when you share too much. When you let the world into your most vulnerable moments, but the sources are consistent. Multiple outlets, multiple insiders, all saying the same thing. That Jennifer is happier than she's been in years. That this relationship is different. That she's exploring options she never thought she'd consider. And honestly, whether it happens or not, there's something powerful in the possibility. Because Jennifer Aniston's story has never really been about whether she becomes a mother. It's been about a woman navigating impossible expectations with grace. About surviving public scrutiny that would break most people. About finding ways to be happy even when life doesn't follow the plan. She's been the girl next door, the wronged wife, the eternal bachelorette, the woman who supposedly couldn't have it all, but maybe, just maybe, she's been writing her own story all along. One that doesn't need validation from tabloids or strangers. One that finds value in the life lived, not the boxes checked. If she and her partner do start a family, it'll be on their terms, in their time, away from the spotlight as much as possible. A choice made from love, not pressure. And if they don't, that's okay too. Because Jennifer Aniston has already proven she's enough. With or without children. With or without a ring. With or without following anyone else's script. She's built a career that's lasted 3 decades. She's used her platform to speak up for women's rights. She's been honest about her struggles in a way that's helped countless others feel less alone. She's shown that you can survive your worst public moments and come out stronger. That's the real story. Not the boyfriend. Not the baby plans. Not the catch or the complication. The story is a woman who refused to let the world define her. Who kept showing up even when it was hard. Who found her own version of happiness despite everyone else's opinions. So yes, sources say Jennifer Aniston and her boyfriend are starting a family. And yes, there's a catch. The catch is that it might look different than what we expect. The catch is that it's happening on their timeline, not ours. The catch is that we don't get to be part of the decision, only observers of the outcome. And maybe that's how it should be. Because after everything Jennifer has been through, after decades of invasion and speculation and judgment, she's earned the right to some privacy, some peace, some space to make choices without the world weighing in. Whatever happens next, we can hope it brings her joy. We can respect her journey. We can learn from her resilience, and we can finally stop asking when she's having kids. Because whether it's tomorrow or never, Jennifer Aniston's worth isn't tied to motherhood. It never was. It's tied to the strength she's shown, the grace she's maintained, the way she's refused to become bitter despite having every reason to be. That's the story worth telling. That's the legacy worth celebrating. If you've made it this far, you're part of something bigger than celebrity gossip. You're here because stories like this matter. Because understanding the human behind the headlines changes how we see the world. If this resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe to Luminoir for more untold stories, and drop a comment telling us what you think. Your voice matters here.